You're ready to be premature all over again.
That's impressive.
Quick
Right?
reset.
Last night was Ramos Jizz.
Yeah. Who did the job with the pro bono?
I was so high that I shit myself at some point.
Okay, it's doing here. Somebody, everybody mute. Goddamn, you kill it.
My SEAL Team 6 went to SEAL Team 12.
There's nothing wrong with punching above your weight.
The flavors get better. Well,
I don't know what's worse. You're a ginger or you've been vaccinated.
You sit around and drink and solve the world's problems, right?
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You may get tired of hearing it, but I don't get tired of saying it. The Four Horsemen are back in the studio. It's another week, and it's another topic, and we are here to dance. Gentlemen, how's everybody doing?
You know what, man? I'm doing great, and I'll tell you why. My wife thinks I'm hot. I walked by her the other day, and she said, "What an ass."
I bet she did, and I bet it wasn't the first time, nor will it be the last time she says that.
Exactly. Mac, what about you, brother? How you doing? Come on, chime in here, man.
Dude, I'm tired. I got to be honest with you. Was up all night cranking out Vision Quest. I'm working on the list still, brother.
That's another good one. Did you like it?
I actually really like that one.
It's fucking funny as shit, isn't it?
Yeah, and I enjoyed the fact that Madonna just kind of like pops in for like a bar scene in like the middle of the movie, and then there's nothing else.
And then
Boom,
out.
she's back out, right?
Exactly.
But yeah, no, I thought it was a good movie. So knocked another one off the list. So
I am so proud of you making inroads.
I am
Look
too,
at you.
actually.
I know
I'm
you thought you had just created this list and it was going to just sit there stagnant and nothing was going to get done. I'm working on it, man.
We had hoped by watching a couple when we were together that maybe that might spark, get it in motion a little bit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
'cause
I'm glad to see that momentum's carrying forward.
no offense, but Mac, we started the list back in like August or September, and it did sit stagnant for a while. So you can look and see when it's created, but
I hope you choke on that chicken wing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 movies have been knocked off since then.
right, and there's about 40 on the list.
Yeah, but I mean that's good.
not
That's
40.
good progress.
No,
that's
it's not
good
40.
progress.
It is. It is
9
progress.
movies in the last 2 months, 3 months?
But you have to. You gotta.
Yeah.
You got to think though in terms of 9 movies knocked off a list, and I don't know how many there are, but when we made the list back in September, we watched 2, and then it sat stagnant until
What did we
recently.
watch?
we watched Neverending Story.
Yeah, and Roadhouse, right?
No, I believe was it Goonies?
It was Goonies. That's right.
It makes me
Yep.
sad. My heart is just sad that some of these you've never.
Never seen
And I really hope once you're done, we should do an entire podcast episode
About Mac's list?
on these movies and what you thought. Like,
Yeah, because unlike you, the rest of us can speak to these movies, so we need you to catch up so we can do a podcast about them. But we'll
Okay.
get there. We'll get.
Has that ever stopped me from talking, not knowing
No.
something? Okay.
We'll find out today.
nor
Yeah,
nor
you're going to
should
find out
it.
really soon.
Nor should it.
Well, you do sit idle and quiet when it's not a topic that you're invested in. We'll see how today goes, but
Okay, fine. Challenge
I ain't-
accepted.
Okay, fine. All right. We're happy to be here. The Four Horsemen are back in the studio. We apologize for that little aside, but it was fun. Everybody's doing good. Let's move on to our drinks. Mac, I'm going to let you go first since you're a chatterbox today.
All
You
right.
have the,
So
you have the gift of the gab. Go for it.
I do.
Saying the same thing over and over doesn't count.
It does. So I made a margarita. I know, boring, simple. But I had some of the George's margarita mix left that we'd picked up in Greensboro. It was just enough left in the bottle to make one glass. So I was like, well, screw it. I'm going to go ahead and make that. And on top of that, I was making, I went a little Thor and got a little pretentious and started making homemade tortilla chips today. So that's what kind of pushed me over the edge to say, yeah, you know what? I'll make a tequila. I'll make a margarita.
So you cut up some tortillas and shoved them in the air fryer, and boom.
Yes, I did. And they're actually pretty darn good.
Flour or
And-
corn?
They are flour.
Okay.
But they're carb smart. So 2 points for 8.
Nice. Look
It's
at
all
you,
the
buddy.
sour cream and cheese and ground beef you put on the nachos.
No. But considering, the drink is 8 points on my diet, I have to skimp elsewhere today. So
Is the drink like a keto smart
No,
Pre-made?
I'm going to be 100% honest here, right? Well, first of all, I did say it was the George's pre-made liquor that we or the tequila mix earlier. So clearly, get the chicken wings out of your ears and listen.
I don't know if that's keto or not. How the fuck would I know? Because I don't use pre-made.
It's not.
But Thor asks Grinch if we want to stop doing this, but the repertoire of the two of them get going. Like, why would I give this up? I mean,
so many reasons.
TV.
It is entertaining.
Give that up.
Fuck, I don't know where I was going.
Do this, yeah.
So you got a margarita. We got it.
Got a margarita. Had some chips. Yep. All right, so let's move on. Haas, what did you make today?
You've got 2 drinks in your repertoire: a margarita and a Kentucky Buck. That's it.
Hey,
okay,
moving
well. I'm trying to lose weight here. Okay,
the man.
I'm not shoveling down chicken wings. Sucking the meat off the bones.
I know,
which, by the way, is disgusting.
You're going to town on those wings in a way that
how many wings?
I have questions. I have questions about the way you're attacking those wings.
I know it's kind of scary.
Yeah.
Only 4. Yeah. How did you learn to eat chicken?
All right, Haas, over to you.
I mean, look at that, bro. Look at that. Like, damn, dude.
Somebody's done porn.
What are you drinking?
So I'm having Cleveland Underground bourbon whiskey finished with black cherry wood. I've never had it before, but after
that sounds good.
After that video I watched about the 6 bourbons you can get instead of Blanton's.
Was that one of them?
No, actually wasn't. But
okay.
I found it while looking.
I didn't think it was. That's
they just
where's the correlation?
They had 2 of them, the Russell's Reserve and the Jack Daniel's single barrel, couple of variations of that.
Yeah. Which Russell's was it? The 10-year or
yes.
Because we had the 10-year in Greensboro.
Yeah.
I think we all finished it off.
Yeah, same bottle.
But I don't see where that's a comparison to Blanton's. But anyway, continue with your Cleveland Underground.
Steamer. Go ahead. Cleveland Steamer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's pretty good. I like that.
How's the cat hair?
It's a great addition.
Is it? Garnished with a little cat hair.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so you're having a Cleveland Steamer. You're having a margarita. Haas, what about you, brother?
I went with just a Moscow Mule.
In a copper cup?
Yeah.
You
And it's the Tito's copper cup. And it's Tito's vodka. Yeah. A little
can
fever
we
tree.
get a little sponsorship here?
A little fever tree. Yeah.
Rum Tito's vodka.
So good. A little pst of lime juice, just a pst of it.
And for all of you ladies and gentlemen, Haas is actually 5,000 miles away. He is back home. He's in Austria, so he is recording from his studio there. Used to seeing this background, but it's different because for the last few months you've had the background here at home, stateside.
I have.
So you're happy to be home, aren't you?
I am.
Okay, good.
I miss you guys, and I hate that we can't,
get together and
on a more regular basis. But yeah, I enjoy my life.
But home is home. When you're home,
you're
happy.
Always will be.
As somebody who has been away from his home numerous times, I understand that home is home.
Yeah.
It's bed. The bed. You just don't sleep anywhere else as good as you do in your own freaking bed.
So
it's
unbelievable.
Thor,
what are you drinking? I'm glad you asked. Thanks. I appreciate that. Let me go ahead and get my drink out of the way.
Is it the tears of unborn children?
It's the juices from his chicken wings.
Is the juices of the inner thighs of
the chick from the
young versions? Because the way you were eating those wings, that's what I think it would be.
4 Thors, 1 cup.
We'll wait.
I'm not wiping after that. That's all
this
I got to say. I will not pick him up nor wipe. That's on you guys.
The drink portion of this episode is going to be very short because I'm going to be doing a lot.
Oh fuck! Please don't. Okay. This is great.
You won't.
So I am having a bourbon cranberry fizz, and it is simply bourbon cranberry juice because I like my cranberry juice and my clean kidneys, and a little ginger beer. Obviously, just put them together in a glass and then
ginger beer.
Ginger beer.
What kind of ginger ale?
Not ginger ale, ginger beer.
Okay.
What kind of ginger beer?
Gosling's.
Okay.
Ginger beer. Ocean Spray. Cranberry. So,
man, we really need some sponsorships. I need to.
Well, and I was a bit frustrated because I was going to put cranberries in it because I just threw them away because they weren't any good anymore. Because Grinch, you sent out that list of drinks we were going to do, and then we never did. And I had cranberries for those drinks, and so I was like, "Fuck, man, those cranberries. Those cranberries are bad, so I got to throw them away." So cranberries.
We got to adapt and overcome.
We did that. And here we are. All right. Well,
I do want to read something real quick off the side of this bottle because I think it's entertaining.
Cleveland Steamer, go for it.
Using carefully selected transformative woods, our spirits are finished with an advanced pressure and oxygenation process, which adds a series of flavor and aromas never before experienced in traditional whiskeys. Unlike passive barrel-aged expressions, these radically different, unique wood combinations and pressure extractions are considered controversial and even sacrilegious to some. If we are branded as heretics, we passionately embrace the label. No excuses. I like it.
Wow.
I like the style.
They came out swinging, didn't they?
You may have mentioned this. Where is that made?
Cleveland.
Right
Cleveland Underground is the name.
Get the
of
chicken
company.
bone out your ears, right in the name.
You can look them up at clevelandwhiskey.com.
All I saw was underground when he held up the bottle label. So
Sorry, your vision's not what it used to be.
Cleveland Underground. I got you now. Okay. Now is that made in Cleveland?
In their underground.
Technically south. It's
On
like
the,
a suburb.
right on the Cuyahoga.
I'm joking. I don't know. Cheers.
Home with the Indians.
Yeah. So, gentlemen, cheers to y'all.
Yeah.
Major League, a movie you
I'm
don't
sorry.
have to put on your list.
The
Just
Guardians
get
now.
outside.
Cheers, gentlemen.
All right, as Haas said, let's
Hey,
go to
you
work.
asked me to talk.
I did. I just was hoping it would be relevant information. My bad. Okay. So here we are back in the studio. This one is, and I don't know how relevant this even is. Obviously, it's not to Mac. He made that abundantly clear right out of the gate. This has to do with AI.
Well, at least he brought his own topic as a proposed replacement. Oh, no, you didn't, did you?
No, he
okay.
didn't.
No.
Exactly.
Yeah, I got nothing.
Okay. This has to do with the legal woes as of late, or really the end of 2022 and now rolling into 2023, as it relates to AI and the controversy surrounding AI creating artwork and language and so on and so forth. Obviously, this is something that hits home for me as a creative. I live in a household of creatives. My wife, my stepdaughter, all of us are artists. I went to school to be an artist. I have a degree in fine art for some fucking reason. I'm a graphic designer by trade. So when something like this popped up, it was relevant to me. Haas, you sent out a couple of articles a few weeks ago, and it is something that's kind of on the forefront right now. So that's what we wanted to talk about, was the use of AI in the creative industries and how that's affecting it from a copyright standpoint, from a legitimacy standpoint. Does it cheapen the creative field in some way, shape, or form? So that's what we're going to talk about today. I sent out a bunch of articles in lieu of what Haas sent out, kind of trying to re-energize this week. I think about 6 articles, 5 or 6. I know everybody read them diligently, and I do appreciate that, Mac, especially you, because you come to the table with your A game week in and week out, and this week will be no different. So that's what we're talking about. But the first thing I want to do is I'm not even going to be first. I'm going to let you guys go ahead and do this, because I'm curious your perspective on AI as it pertains to this particular topic.
I'm conflicted. I think there's some great benefits to some of the AI if it's regulated and moderated in a way that so far it hasn't been, because the technology is ahead of the law. And I think that's, where we've got the rubber meets the road for me in this subject matter is there. I think we've all grown up with sci-fi films, and maybe we're all, whether we admit it or not, somewhat concerned, with the day that the machines take over. And I think this might be that first step. But regardless, from the chat GPT, I think it's interesting because there's already code being written to kind of offset the chat GPT. But the art stuff, I find very, very interesting because there's not great law out there. And what little bit I was able to look at with the fair use index from the U.S. Copyright Office. It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out in court, and what protections these artists get, and whether or not they get any kind of grandfathered type like kickback for what's already been done.
Right. And you sorry, go ahead, brother.
Well, I was just going to say, I think it's, worth saying what we're talking about, which is, I'm just going to use this summary again that I think really sums up, or really does a good job of explaining what's going on. But Well, let me back up real quick. I think there are two parts. There's the how you create the AI and train it, which is one aspect of licensing and so forth. And then there's
100%.
the product that comes afterward. But artificial intelligence systems like Midjourney are trained using data sets of millions of images that exist across the internet, then teaching algorithms to recognize patterns in those images and generate new ones. That means any artist who uploads their work online could be feeding the algorithm without their consent. Many claim
unwillingly, unknowingly.
Many claim this amounts to a high-tech form of plagiarism that could seriously harm human artists in the near future.
And from a law perspective, I want to interject real quick. Why that's most important for me when I was reading about this is the but-for factor. So, but for these artists' work, not teaching the AI how to then generate that work, it wouldn't be generating that work.
Right. I 100% agree, because you have to have that work originally to train the AI.
Right.
So, it's, if you type in gray dog, what it's doing is it's pulling from every example of a gray dog it's ever discovered and kind of using its algorithm to create something maybe different, new, mashup in between everything. So it's pulling from Getty Images, it's pulling from real life, animated, whatever. And it has that power to see every single image that fits that may have ever existed, and then create something different. So I get, as an artist, that they're saying you're basically using my own work to try to make me obsolete.
Right. And that becomes a problem. Since you guys came out of the gate with discussing the issues around the laws and how they will protect or not protect this situation. So obviously, copyright being the big one. Copyright is a form of protection grounded in the U.S. Constitution and granted by law for original works of authorship fixed in a tangible medium of expression. Copyright covers both published and unpublished works. The interesting thing about copyright law, and Haas, you kind of alluded to this, is there's nothing in place. No, when copyright law was created, they didn't think about machines creating artwork.
And that's the problem. It was people. It was always revolving around people stealing, not machine learning. Yeah.
Right. So, what does copyright protect? It's a form of an intellectual property law, protects original works of authorship, including literary, dramatic, musical, and artistic works, such as poetry, novels, movies, songs, computer software, and architecture. Copyright does not protect facts, ideas, systems, or methods of operation, although it may protect the way in which these things are expressed. The important part here is, when is work protected? Work under copyright protection it becomes protected the moment it's created in a fixed and tangible form that is perceptible either directly or with the aid of machine or device. So this is going to be that area where people are now coming up against it, since there is no law that expressly protects artists against machine learning AI for the reproduction of artwork.
In fact, there's the what I was talking about earlier is the Fair Use Index, which is a doctrine that promotes freedom of expression by permitting the unlicensed use of copyrighted protected works in certain circumstances. So even if this stuff is obviously copyright and protected, according to this doctrine, it can, in certain, provides the statutory framework for determining whether something is a fair use and identifies certain types of uses. Now, and this is important because those uses are criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. And so when this, and I imagine this will go to trial, when it does, those are going to be the points argued. I mean, will they have a fair argument one way or the other on whether that's what this was intended for or not?
And I would say no. And as someone who is a former teacher of the arts, that was one of the things that we kind of leveraged, was in using artwork, because it was an educational arena. We were able to do that. But that was day one when I taught a class. Day one was, what is copyright? What is fair use? And how does it apply to you? Because they're in that class for the purpose of creating artwork. And so I wanted them to understand that right out of the gate. And then, now it's coming back. And as somebody whose job it is, their 9 to 5 is creating artwork, and I create that for a company as a graphic designer, this is something that we always have to be aware of. In terms of when we are creating work for the company, when I go to work, if I'm tasked with creating something, I have to be careful about my approach to creating that artwork, because I'm representative of a company, and I can't go out and steal somebody else's artwork to leverage as my own, or as something that is being used to promote this company, because there is a massive legality to that I would put my company up against if I did that. Now, the problem with something like this is you're talking about from an artistic standpoint, taking, literary and musical out of it, just from me, the artistic standpoint. If something is now reproducing artwork, yes, it can make me obsolete. And the issue being, if there is, if it's not legal from a copyright standpoint, that's a problem. I've been up against this as when I was doing freelance graphic design work. Somebody would say, hey, we want to create a logo or something like that. And it's like, okay, I'm going to create you a logo. You take the time, and part of, what they were paying for was my time and my research and stuff like that, making sure I wasn't creating a logo that already existed and, things like that. So they weren't having an issue legally down the road. But then if you looked online, suddenly there are logo generators online. You don't need a fucking graphic designer anymore. You can just go in, you can type in some words and
that was going to be my question, right? So the point of technology, I would assume, and I'm speaking broadly here, not just this, is to make your job easier, your day-to-day job easier, or your life easier, right? Would we all agree on that?
Efficiency and cost effectiveness, right?
Right. So, I mean, again, somebody has to have created the original artwork for me then to be able to go and use this, like you said, logo generator or whatever, to create my own logo without a graphic designer.
Right.
So are you saying that that's not something that you approve of, or and again, I'm asking questions, right? Because I don't know the answers to them.
No, well, mostly it was like, as a graphic designer, as a freelance graphic designer, my time is money. So they are paying me for that time and effort. So if I'm charging $50 an hour and it takes me 3 hours to create a logo, they're paying me $150. And then they go online and they go, well, Vistaprint can create a logo for me for $5.99. Why am I going to pay you $150 when Vistaprint will do it for $6?
Right.
Well, suddenly you don't need me anymore. And that was, they didn't understand, well, I'm the one creating it. And of course, if you stood my design up against the Vistaprint, they would look wildly different, because it is just taking the bare bones. You put in, well, I want this color and these shapes, and you're literally, and there are AI art generators now. You go out and you type in, like Grinch said, gray dog with, Santa hat or whatever.
Right.
You're simply typing in words, and AI is extrapolating through the algorithm the words that you're using, and it's finding artwork, and then it randomly generates some combination.
Well, just like it's no different than a chat bot, right? When you go on to talk to somebody at, whatever website you're at, your initial conversation is with AI, right? It's with a chat bot. It's not with a human being anymore.
Right.
This is the exact same thing. And I mean, I guess, is this not capitalism? I mean, if I can go do something, I can pay, my HR person to just go create a logo for $5.99. Does that not make more sense for me as a business than paying you $150? I'm not saying it's right or wrong. It's just a question that I think is, if I'm running a business, that's what I'm going to look at.
And here's how I think of it is, there's the difference between access to just pure information and like a service, in the sense that you couldn't even train the AI if it didn't have artwork to learn from.
Right.
And so when the AI is creating the artwork, I'm sure there's numerous iterations and tweaks and so forth, but it isn't like it's proofed. It spits out what it thinks the answer is. So shading might be off, or like in the example of that book that the guy Reshi did in like 12 days, fingers might be looking like claws, or things are slightly off, like they're out of alignment, because you don't do like an iterative proof process where a human is actually saying, well, what do you want to change? Now, I'm sure that's the evolution of this.
Well, and it's important. Sorry, go ahead. But
that's the thing that gets me is that there's the two part. There's the class action suit, which is against, who is that with? Stability AI, Midjourney, and DeviantArt, I think, is who is included in this class action suit in Northern California.
I believe so.
Yeah, where everybody's saying, I think they're calling the term scraping. You're scraping my art. Without me knowing it or giving you license, my artwork has now been part of what you use to create the capability to do future artwork that I might not get. So I think there's that part. But For some reason, it reminds me too of. Do you remember the movie about the guy who came up with the freaking windshield wipers, and he had to go fight. He had to represent himself, and he fought Ford.
Yeah,
because they spun it out. And one of the examples he gives, now this is in the movie, I don't know if this happened in real life, is he takes like Shakespeare or something, and he's like, hey, can you read this first passage of this famous book, right? And so the witness is like, it's a dark, stormy night, and whatever. And he goes, now, did that author create the word dark or stormy or night? It's like, no, but he arranged them in that way to make that sentence and create that product. And so what Ford was trying to say is he didn't come up with anything original in composition. But his point was that may be true, but I was original in how I put it together to make it do its function.
Right.
And so I kind of think of art that same way. It's like, well, other people have created dogs, yes, but I created that dog in that setting, creating this mood with those colors for a very specific reason.
Well, and on that note, it's important to point out too that it's not just these artists that are doing this. Getty Images, who is, I believe, one of the largest image companies in the world, and they're very well known. Their stock photos are used all the time, and they have to get permission to be used. They're also suing as well because their images have also been scraped.
Yeah, and I see on this article, which I'll just put in the chat, it looks like okay, so there are few clear answers at this point, at least in the US. While the UK and European Union have released more specific guidelines around AI development, such as the Digital Single Market Directive and the proposed Artificial Intelligence Act, the US is currently lacking regulations or legislation around what is already proving to be a disruptive technology.
Right. And here's the other issue you're going to have when we talk about Copyright and Fair Use Act. The four standards for fair use are A, the purpose and character of the use, 2, the nature of the copyrighted work, 3, the amount of substantiality of the portion used, and the effect of the use on the potential market for or value of the work. So, when we're talking about copyright law and fair use, if I create a piece of artwork and then Matt goes and uses that artwork, how he uses that artwork is going to be relevant to, if he uses it as a one-to-one copy or if he changes it. So maybe I did it in oil painting and he did it digitally and he only used portions of it. Legally, what's going to happen is they're going to put this in a court, and the judge is going to make a human decision about it, and it's all subjective. Well, did Mac only use 25% of my original artwork? So somebody's got to look at that. Did his use of my artwork affect the market value of my artwork? That's going to be the problem we're going to have is A, no substantial copyright laws in place for this. And 2, when it is finally looked at, it is going to be the human element that's going to look at it and decide whether or not there's a basis for legal ramifications.
But you've got to appreciate the irony of that, right? Like we're humans making decisions about AI and AI is taking from human creativity.
So what happens when AI starts making legal decisions?
Yeah.
Us?
Yeah, I mean, look, where does this end? No, that's a great point. That's a wonderful segue.
I don't need to pay a judge.
Great question.
I'm just going to plug in the facts of the case and let AI.
We don't need lawyers. We don't need lawyers anymore. We don't need judges anymore.
I'll be honest, that might be better.
Yeah. You might not be too far off there.
This is an interesting article. I'm skipping some parts, so I'm not going to fill in the front end of this. But
before you do this, can I ask a question? Mac, why were you shaking your head?
Because you can't seem to get your list together. It's A, you start off with the letter, and 2, you move to a number.
Oh, it doesn't matter.
This is really what we're doing. It's my OCD.
Is this really what we're doing?
I wouldn't
why
have
did
that.
You shake your head? Did I
say
something?
I wouldn't have that problem with a chat bot. It'd get its shit right.
What was it? A2CF or something?
A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Go ahead, Greg.
There's I think the Suresh, that's a really long last name, but it's a professor of computer science and data science at Brown University. He was informing the White House Office of Science and Technology Policy because I guess the White House did a white paper seeing if it could maybe get some traction. But what he said is if the concern is that artists are not getting credit for their work, perhaps they should be compensated for using. If the concern is that artists are not getting credit for their work, perhaps they should be compensated for using their art. Vinka said, when you produce a particular AI generated art, could it be possible to track influences that caused it and where those influences came from and to what degree?
Well,
yeah, but I think the degree part is
well.
Hard, right?
Let me.
But hold on.
Let me jump to this other thing real quick.
Okay.
This response is not surprising. A 2020 World Economic Forum report projected that 85 million jobs will be lost to automation and AI by 2025. However, it also projected that the technologies will generate 97 million new jobs. Similarly, last August, the Government Accountability Office said that researchers project somewhere between 9% and 47% of jobs may be automated in the future, with the hardest hit expected to be those that do, quote, routine tasks or have lower levels of education.
Yeah, so to go back to the first part, the way I've kind of been equating it is kind of like sampling that's done in music, right? When someone samples someone else's music, they get a piece of that pie. So why is that not the same here? Why is that not a fair and equitable approach to it?
And I'm pretty sure that was not the case when that all started happening, right?
Right.
You know, and I assume, or let me rephrase, I hope that that's something that's going to happen here, right? Eventually they will figure out how to compensate on the back end the artists whose, you know, images they're pulling from.
That and set up a framework.
Man, that is that's a freaking tall task.
It is.
Because how do you create the data? There's probably an answer to this, but how do you, like with music, it's got sound. It's like, right. It's that type of media that you have data that goes with it.
I think you have art. Yeah. Well, here's the thing. There's that guy who wrote the counter Chat GPT algorithm or program that checks for whether or not something's been plagiarized, right? Or whether or not something's been written by Chat GPT. I think you take someone like that who has that knowledge base of the program and they write a counter program that checks to see how much of that particular artist's art was used in this particular, you know, whatever, or how often, and then you use that to gather the metrics. So then you have a model that tells them, you know, prorated how much compensation they should get on the back end.
But again, when we talk about fair use and you're talking about the substantiality or the portion of the artwork used, is it 20%, 21%? So when they're setting up that algorithm, when somebody's creating it, they've got to define that parameter. 30%.
But here's what's interesting. So in your first element that you pointed out, though, the purpose and character of the use. The purpose and the character of the use has to be done by a nonprofit, educational, or non-commercial uses is
right.
fair.
Right.
And these are companies that are, you know, I don't think it's free, right? Like, don't they charge a service to use this?
In terms of what?
They're not was it nonprofit organizations, not 30, was it I never can get
like
it.
the 501c.
Yeah,
or 503, 501 and 503c.
Yeah, they're not that, right? Like DeviantArt and these other companies aren't that. So already they don't meet that first element of being a nonprofit, educational or non-commercial use.
Right, but they're the ones that people are uploading artwork to, that these AIs are going out and scanning. So it's scanning that artwork.
Right, there's a question I want to ask, because, you know, as we know, right, it's data. And as everybody here knows, you know, when you install a new app on your phone, one of the primary things it asks is, you know, do you want to share your data? You know, and that's how they know when, you know, you go to that new city, here's all the Chinese restaurants because we know you like Chinese food, right? Because you're sharing all that information. But you have to opt in to do that. Mm-hmm. You know, and Thor, this maybe is a question for you. When you upload your artwork to a website, do you, you know, like a Getty Images or whatever, you know, I don't know where all the different locations are. Do you have to agree to something that says, you know, hey, I'm willing to, you know, allow my artwork to be available, or I'm not willing to do something? Is there some sort of an agreement when you upload that? Or are you just uploading it, you know, assuming they're going to take care of it, but not really knowing that?
No. Okay. Like if you're talking to Getty Images or an iStock or something like that, if you are an artist and you are taking photos or you're creating illustrations and uploading into that, what's happening is Mac is going out and he's looking for a photo for his website, and he goes to Getty and he types in, whatever your parameters are, and it returns, and say my photo comes back, because I took photos of a bar scene and you're doing a bar scene or whatever. I get paid a royalty if you use my photo, but my photo is out there for free use for you through Getty. So you're it's part of what you're paying for to use the Getty site as the consumer. You're going, I'm paying, $100 a month to get 300 images from Getty, and I can get any image I want or whatever. So you go out and you look up bar scene and it returns my photo. You use my photo. That's free for you to use because I'm relinquishing the rights because I'm getting a royalty through Getty every time that photo gets used.
Right. But you've uploaded images and art. I don't want to say artwork, but it is stuff that you've created to our website.
Right. But now,
so when I go out and scan for such and such, it could return that image from the website because it found that and it said it meets the criteria. And then, am I then legally allowed to use that image if I make changes to it, or because it's being, hosted with no?
Well, if you go to gettyimages.com or whatever, and you look up bar scene and my photo comes back, that's one thing because you.
Yeah. And we're taking Getty images out of it, right? I just go to Google and I type in bar scene. Right. And, a spirited debate comes back with one of your images, which is just a regular random website.
Right. And technically my images I've paid for. So if you use one of my images, technically that's an issue.
Okay.
Because through my site, those images are protected because I have paid to access those images. So if Matt goes out and you're doing your own thing and you find one of my images and use it, technically that's an issue.
Okay.
But what we're talking about here is I'm uploading my images to Getty or iStock or wherever. I'm getting a royalty every time you use it. But what this is AI is, again, Mac, you're not paying for a Getty account. You're just Mac out there and you're going, oh, I want gray dog and Santa hat. Well, I took a picture of a gray dog and a Santa hat or whatever. It's now scanning and creating a piece of artwork that's using my artwork. So I'm not getting a royalty off that, even though I created the artwork.
Right. I understand that. But I guess for me, it's, we keep using the term gray dog, right?
Well,
come on, there's a million, right?
Well, of course.
Yeah. Now, if I took, I have a beautiful piece of art hanging in my living room that, Mrs. Thor created. So now if I took that, to me, because that is truly a piece of artwork, right? It's not just a picture of some random gray dog, right?
Right. It's very specific.
And I don't know, maybe that doesn't make a difference at all, right? Well, in my mind, it seems to, but maybe it doesn't.
The other aspect of this, and just a quick glance, it looks like some are free. Some you can have printed and delivered what you create for a fee. I don't know what the market looks like for that. They just gave 2 examples in this article of, Stable Diffusion generates images for free based on strings of text entered by the user, and Lensa sells its portraits for as little as $3.99. I think one of those you like upload a selfie or something if you wanted to do its own take on it, right? But the other aspect of this is they claim Stable Diffusion trained its algorithm on data sets collected by the German nonprofit Leon, which collected billions of captioned images from art shopping sites and websites such as Pinterest.
Right.
So it had the name in it associated with the image, and it just kept compiling all that. And that data set was used in the training. Now, I think there's a quote on another article where it's like, oh, it was like 0.1% of what we used or something. I don't know. But still, it's obviously happening.
Yeah, I guess in my mind, this is the way of the future, right? We like it or not, we have to figure out how you work around it to ensure that the folks like, Thor get compensated properly, right? I don't think anybody's arguing that, AI should be abolished, right? I think we see the value in it, right? We just need to figure out, how does it get implemented properly?
But that's the problem,
just
right?
Just like with Napster, when Napster first came out, right? Clearly it was, stealing, copyrighted music and sell, not really
but
selling
that wasn't
it,
AI going out and finding music. That
I
was
understand.
us.
My point being, though, that it is a new piece of technology, and technology is always ahead of everything else.
Well,
so unfortunately, you're always going to be, on your heels.
Yeah,
now
how do we
going,
get out
okay,
in front of this moving forward, though?
well, you're not. I mean, that's the problem,
sure.
right? Technology is always going to be ahead of people.
I hope not. I mean, shouldn't we be trying to get out in front of this instead of always chasing?
You're always going to be reactive, not
humans
proactive.
Don't do anything until their pain threshold is crossed.
I know. Well, that's the problem. Shouldn't we though?
But
Thor, I think you wanted to say something, right?
Sorry. Well, how do you define laws? It's the Minority Report approach. Pre-crime. Have you seen Minority Report?
What is
Put
that?
it on your fucking list. In Minority Report, the main character, he's part of a pre-crime. So he's trying to stop crime before it even occurs.
Right.
How do you enact laws to protect people from things we don't even know might
You
happen?
don't. That's my point. You're always going to be reactive,
right?
Not proactive, because technology is typically going to move faster than what we can do as humans.
Well, it's interesting because technology is only moving at the pace that humans are programming it. That's the conundrum here. It's only moving as fast as people that are writing the code.
Fair enough. But I mean, as far as, creating laws and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
The person writing the code, the person writing the code for technology doesn't give a rat's ass about your artwork, right? They're creating something because that's what they have to do.
And they want to move as fast as they can before the law catches up.
Well, that too, yeah.
And here's the issue, and music is a kind of a different beast of burden for this, but for art, for creative arts, visual arts, the problem being from a copyright perspective, these AI generators, and I can't remember which one of you said it, Grinch, I think it was you. What was the company you named? The Stable or something?
Oh, Stable Diffusion?
Diffusion, right. And I think what you said was things are being generated by a string of text. And here's the issue. People are going into these AI generators and they're simply writing in a bunch of different random words and it's kicking out a piece of artwork. Copyright doesn't cover ideas. And what they're saying is when I type in that text, that's simply an idea. And it's not until you get a tangible element that copyright will protect it. So that's why this is going to be an issue from a copyright perspective, because people are going, well, I'm not stealing anything. I'm simply listing ideas and it's returning something. So it looked kind of like somebody else's thing.
So you're not stealing it, but Skynet is stealing it.
The way the legal world works, though, is it looks at the intent. What is the intent of the user? What is their end game, right? And if their end game is to create something that's plagiarism, that there you go.
Well,
I mean,
but in this case, who is the user? Is the user the person that put in the information?
Yes, because for
AI
them doing it wouldn't happen.
Right. And I get this is where we're going to have an issue.
AI.
No, that's the thing. You can't hold AI culpable. You know,
like Matt said, not yet, but welcome to the future, kids.
Yeah. How's that? Yeah. I mean, how does that even happen though? How do you hold that accountable?
When they turn the tables on us and they start freaking forming their own
August
companies.
29th, 1996, when Skynet becomes sentient. Last time I checked, there is no sentient AI out there. There's not free thinking AI. Everything is programmed, zeros or ones, by a human being. Mm-hmm. And they are writing code telling it, scrape or whatever you're calling it, these indexes, these repositories of artwork, go out here, look for it. You know, that's what they're doing. And there is, I don't know how you hold them accountable. I don't know how you position it so that creatives like myself don't get steamrolled by technology, and I know that's what you said, Mac, is we need to set up a system so that those people are being compensated for their work. And it is like the Napster thing. Now, Napster was a repository of music that users were uploading and everybody could go out and get it. It was a little different. But
but again, the point just being that, it was technology that got ahead of what everybody anticipated that it could do. And then you were backpedaling to try and correct those issues of copyright infringement and stuff. And I think this is going to be very much the same way, just on a much larger scale.
Right.
I mean, at the core of this, the reason I'm on board with there needs to be protections is my problem with it is it without the artwork it vacuumed up, it couldn't do anything. That to me is where the line crosses, because now if it could, and that's where the algorithm itself becomes the question, because otherwise, if in a simple world, if you said, gray dog Dolly, and it gave you some weird blend of Dolly's style with like a melting dog or whatever, over a tree limb. Right. You now know probably Dolly's trust should get 50% of the work,
Some compensation.
and then whatever original artwork fed the gray dog would get a percentage. Now, when you come to just words, you'd have to trace which piece of art that word networked back to, and that's how you get your percentages. To me, until then, we just can't figure this out. It's just not, because they're not going to do it for themselves, right?
Nope.
Not in their interest.
It's not in their interest
for them to do it.
Yeah,
Right.
but I guarantee you, like, if you had enough time in forensics, you could trace where this thing was pulling from.
Yeah, but the people that can do that are the same people that are creating the AI.
Right.
You know, I say that. I mean, obviously, there's other people that can do that kind of stuff, but
And
yeah,
again,
now they want it to be, I know they want it to be able to do original art, but you still have to give it the guidelines because it's not free thinking yet.
Right.
And I'm
yeah,
oversimplifying.
it doesn't know what a dog is unless it goes out and
Right.
finds a picture of a dog.
It has to be
because they
taught.
They don't have emotions, therefore they don't have creativity, right?
right. I have one very particular picture in my repertoire that Haas is well aware of because he's always harassed me about getting a copy of it.
And I
was
still want
out-
a copy of it, motherfucker.
I was out visiting Haas in 2008 in Nevada, and we had taken a trip to Mount Zion.
Zion National Park.
Zion National Park. And we were driving along, and I had my camera, and we were in a minivan, if I remember correctly, and we opened the door to the sliding door to the minivan, and we're not going very fast. We're on an old country road, and we're going by a guy sitting on a bench. There's an American flag painted on the bench, and as we go by, I just snapped the shot.
And it was snowing, and there's snow everywhere, and this beautiful backdrop.
And I think, you take that and then you go into some computer generator and you go, old man sitting on an American flag bench or whatever, I don't think there's any way it will ever return the photo or anything even remotely close, because there was just the perfect amount of motion blur because of how fast we were moving. And it was a great photo, but it would never return that to you. It may give you some facsimile that's close, but there's no way it would ever be able to reproduce that moment in time that I was able to just the push of the button I was able to capture.
So let me ask you this question, and this is because I don't know the answer to it, and I'm hoping you do. So if you do take that picture and you upload it somewhere, and somebody gets it, and you get a portion of that royalty, are you then giving back a portion of your royalty to that gentleman whose picture you took?
No, he was in a public domain.
Yeah.
Okay. No, and that's fair.
If you're out in public, no.
Okay.
Yeah. And again, I've had people, my wife and I, when we first met all those years ago, we were walking around a town here in Florida. It was an old town, and there was an individual. He was an older gentleman sitting outside this shitty little thrift shop, and he was playing a guitar. Phenomenal setting. And I said, do you mind if I take your picture? And he said, no, you may not. And I was like, okay. That's a situation where he's like, I don't just, obviously we were in a vehicle at the time. I couldn't just stop and ask, do you mind? I didn't even know that I captured the photo as we went by until I hit it and I was able to look and go, oh, I did get it. And it was just luck that I managed to capture the guy sitting on the bench. But I don't, even though people are in public spaces like that, I don't just walk up and snap pictures.
Well, that's because you're a good person, and most people aren't. So,
and the guy was like, I don't want you taking my picture. I was like, no problem. I apologize. And I won't take it. I don't know, even in that situation, he doesn't have recourse. If I take his picture and I put it up on Getty and somebody uses, he shit out of luck.
Yeah. Just in public space.
Right. I mean, it's not like I walked into his house and snapped the picture while he was sleeping, because that would just be creepy. But
and illegal.
That's a very specific scenario you brought up.
I know, between that and the way he was eating those chicken wings earlier, I have questions.
I've just got some questions.
More questions.
Right.
Always having more questions than answer. That's how they keep you pulled in.
Well, facts.
But again, going back to that photo I took, that's not something like, again, Haas can try it. He can go out to an art generator, go out and try it and type in any keyword combination that you think might return something even closely resembling that photo, and I guarantee you I don't think you'll find it.
No, but I don't want that one. I want the one that you took.
Well, of course, but I'm saying there are going to be very particular situations where I don't think AI can compensate for what you've created.
Well, I mean, the broader your search is, the more results you're going to get back. That's just like anything else, right?
Here's the way.
And you're saying it's a very specific, old man sitting on a bench with a flag. Yeah, it's going to be hard to find.
Here's the point. So that actually kind of runs in a little bit to what I do when I'm creating search terms to find specific documents out of like 1 million documents. I'm trying to find like one needle. I often tell people I'm not looking for a needle inside of a haystack. I'm looking for a very particular needle inside of a giant jar of needles, right? And so to best do that, it's like Max says, you have to be extremely specific with what you type out in the algorithm of the search term. And I was reading on when they were teaching, I have to look at the actual terminology, the PPO, which is the model that they use to teach the AI how to create this stuff. One of the things they've discovered is if they're not extremely specific with telling it how to do that, it fails, and it fails miserably. And so I think your point is well made. Both of you, your points are well made, which is that the specificity that you need to be able to use to put in properly to get what you're looking for. It's I imagine that will evolve and grow with technology as well. And what you'll have third-party companies creating algorithms where you can basically streamline what it is you're looking for, and they create like a foundation for you of tools for you to use to be able to get there faster and more efficiently.
Yeah, I agree. It's going to become a skill of what keywords and phrasing you use. And that may come from like you kind of tease out of the person like what they're really have in their head.
Yeah, you'll have like a 15 or 20 questionnaire that they fill out.
And frankly, I mean, this is the evolution of a new artist in a sense of, if you can kind of get past the morals of it, if the laws aren't in place where you feel comfortable doing it, because that's a lot of what an artist does is they interpret things in a way that non-creatives like myself can't do.
Let me ask you a question.
I can't visualize that shit. I just have to be like, hey, tattoo artist.
You bring up a good point. Like, okay, I was thinking about this. Do you guys feel like non-creative people deserve to be artists? And let me, all right, so in the instance of like EDM, right, and trance music and house music, right, and dubstep, these are people who use technology to create sound, right? They can't play instruments, right? They can understand music and music composition, right? But they're not gifted in creating sound. So this is the same thing, right? We're not gifted with a pencil or a pen or a paintbrush or whatever at drawing or painting. We're now leveraging technology to create art.
But you're gifted potentially in the ability to put, and again, I'm going maybe more to the dub music and all that stuff, to put all of that together to then make it, sound right.
No, I agree. I mean, I totally agree with your premise there, Haas. I had that thought as well. Is like I might find myself willing to try to do art because it's fun to keep tinkering with the words and learn as you go. Of like, no, that word created a brush style or whatever I just didn't care for, but otherwise, and I've heard the theory and I believe in it that many more people that ever try could be artists if they committed to the craft, because it's a craft and it's a skill that you have to develop just like playing a sport or anything else.
Right. Like
most of us just give up on it really early.
And I'm not saying this, Thor, the question is this. To me, what this new technology this technology is to artists what like EDM is to the music industry, right? Like these are people who are leveraging technology to create sound, right? To create songs and albums and create stuff that moves us. Like I'm a huge fan of this genre of music. Is it fair that this is now going to be the same thing from an artistic standpoint, from an actual creating of images where we're leveraging technology, like someone who doesn't have the skill sets to draw or paint or whatever? Like you're the only one I think in this group that does, right? Like I don't think any of us, the rest of us, don't fancy ourselves artists by any stretch of the imagination. Is it fair? Is it right? I mean, is it even cool that like now one of us who has like these ideas of what we would like to see visually, we could actually make that happen?
Are you asking from my perspective if that's fair?
100%. Yeah.
Sure. I think it's fair as long as it doesn't encroach or cause a problem with an artist that is spending the time and effort. Look, I get that. And I heard, and I apologize for stepping away, I heard what Grinch said. Like, it might get him invested in creating artwork if there's a way for him to be able to do it. But I think what I understood, Grinch, is you're talking about like using an AI generator as opposed to you going, I'm going to buy a canvas and I'm going to buy paints and brushes and try it. You're talking about having something generate the artwork for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But his portion of the art is tweaking that algorithm to find exactly what he wants. I think is the point you're getting at, right?
Like
that's his contribution to the art.
And that's what I'm like. We're kind of we're taking the morality of it out of the picture for a second and just saying the joy of learning different word combinations and tinkering with things that start creating images that I could never create on my own because I just don't know graphic design. I don't know oil painting or whatever. But sitting here at my computer, I might come up with something. I'm like, that's fucking awesome. That's what I've always really wanted on this wall. I've just never known how to express it.
It's no different.
What about creating a new tattoo that you want? Like you've got this idea, but you don't know how to explain it to a tattoo artist and have them convey that properly. Now you can go in and actually design what it is you want.
Yeah, but it's no different than computer programming, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you don't find a whole lot of folks anymore that can write code for computers in Java or C++. Everything now is a front-end graphical interface. So you kind of move your images around. You say, if I click on this button, I want to do that, and it builds everything underneath it. And I think this is very similar to that, right? You know, you don't have to be, you know, Grinch, if you want to create that picture, you don't have to be the artist. You go out and get the pieces and have the program put them together for you. The key and what we still have to figure out is because you are taking from, you know, copyrighted material potentially, how does that person get reimbursed for that? Right.
Yeah.
You know, typically typically, but not always. I mean, obviously Windows would be a great, you know, example. I mean, that clearly is copyrighted code, but a lot of times, you know, computer programming and coding is not necessarily copyrighted. So you can pull from different, you know, sources to help kind of copy what you need.
And the thing is, like, you could foresee some goodness coming from this because some obscure artist might get a small royalty because their image fits this very specific thing trying to be created. And that's why I say it's got to be transparent and it's got to be obvious where the algorithm is pulling from so you can properly credit the original art. And if I'm on, you know, I'm just at the website, I have no fucking clue what's on the back side of it. I just know what words I put in. And then when I see my end product, and if I want to print it, it tells me, here's the breakdown in my total cost based on what it pulled from. And there might be, I'm probably like, there's a service fee because the algorithm applied some twist. But you still properly recognize that this artist was behind that painting that was 25, like the base of what you ultimately created.
And more importantly, they got compensated for your use of their image.
You're right. I don't want it for free. I just think it'd be cool if I could do that.
Right.
And again, that I would understand, right? And if that would bring more people into the fold in terms of creating or appreciating art, that's fine. I guess that the concern for artists is that they don't want to be out of work.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, it should effectively be like the Spotify of artwork.
Right.
You know, it's a service.
Yeah.
You understand that all these artists are getting money for when they get played and so forth. And you don't care necessarily how it all works in the contracts because whole libraries are being negotiated. And I could see that you could have consortiums and certain people that start forming together to go, this whole block of images are available, but we get paid blah, blah, you know?
Do you think we lose something though in the creativity part of things? Because for me, that's what, I mean, I don't know. And we gain some creativity, but then we also lose some because my concern is when I was reading these articles is if these artists that currently are suing and or have a rightful claim aren't properly compensated and laws aren't properly built to protect them, now you have people, creative people, real true artists at heart who could physically give us the art that the AI needs, going, no, I'm done. I'm walking away. I'm never drawing another thing again. Or I'm putting under lock and key, or, you know, I'm creating it and selling it with the understanding it can never be photographed or videoed.
Well, I think it goes back to.
I mean, look at sorry, Mac, but we had music artists that did that for years, right? Garth Brooks. Mm-hmm. My library is not available. The
Yeah.
Beatles, they said, I don't want it on a streaming service. And then eventually the price got right.
Yeah, I mean, Tool was one of the last holdouts.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think what you might see then, Haas, right, is your artist going back to okay, fine, I'm going to open up a brick and mortar gallery, right, and that's how I'm going to sell my art.
And you can only see it by coming to my place. And you have to leave your phone
and I don't know,
at the door.
Look, I don't know if that's bad. I mean, clearly it's going to reduce their footprint as to who they can then sell to, because you have to be able to go to that location to see their artwork. But maybe it's a good thing to get back to the roots. I don't know.
And I'll say this though. I mean, on that note, because the missus and I were talking about this briefly. I don't remember when, but there was a point in time where if a gallery didn't help you and feature you, you didn't get the word out. You got stonewalled, or we had some fantastic artists that were destitute most of their lives, only for Van Gogh to be, worth millions after he's fucking dead.
Right.
Died poor as shit.
To me, I think it's an opportunity to get to a wider market. Because let's just say in the grand scheme of doing this AI thing, you are able to see the original works. What if you're like, holy shit, that's actually exactly what I was looking for. But I live in, Dallas, and this artist is in Bulgaria. You know what I mean? Like, artists aren't beholden to galleries as much anymore either, is my understanding, because you have the internet.
But and that's the whole point of the internet, right? Or
marketplaces,
it's the whole point of the internet, but this is
not for Thor. It's not apparently.
It's not.
Yeah, it's to get out, and be able to expand your horizons and market to places that you couldn't before, right?
I mean, every crisis creates an opportunity. So there's some good that
it's how you handle that.
But this is going to be,
and we'll see.
But this is going to be a multifaceted situation, because yes, it'll allow people to market. Yes, it'll allow people who aren't artists, Grinch, I might get into it. But what you're going to have to do is put in things that will protect artists from a copyright standpoint, and again, making sure that they are being compensated. It's the Lars Ulrich, Napster situation. You're pirating our shit. We spend time and effort creating those albums. We should be compensated. This is not a repository that's going to do that. You end up with a Spotify. You end up with things like that, a Pandora, and, because they are compensating artists every time that song.
You look at, Netflix, Hulu, all those streaming services are very much the same thing, right? It used to be that you would go out and torrent, if you wanted to see movies, you would go out and torrent them, and there was no compensation for the artists there.
Right. I don't, to my knowledge, we haven't gotten into the arena of AI creating a movie or a TV series or something like that. I don't see that something like that's ever going to happen. There is the human element that you're never going to be able to get around from an acting standpoint.
We'll have a conversation about that soon, I'm sure.
It's possible.
It's just a matter of time.
But, with music, you can, as Haas mentioned, sampling. In the digital era, you can go out, and that's why you have places like a Storyblocks or an Epidemic, an Artist.io. These sites, they have music, much like a Getty and iStock, where people are uploading music, and you can go out and you can use that music because they're paying the artist through the site every time that music gets used. But you're never going to go out to like an Artist.io or an Epidemic and find Metallica on there, or find Sevendust or Celine Dion or Taylor Swift's music. It's just not there, because they have another stream of revenue they're making off their music. Their record label's not going to put their music on those services for you to be able to use. So for our podcast, I have to go out to like an Epidemic Sound and I download the music from there. I'm paying for that service. So I get to use that music as often as I want. And it ties that music to my account and to anywhere I use that music to make sure that it's legit and that I'm not creating a copyright issue. And like on YouTube, it scans, and their AI scans to make sure that my license is legit and that music is from that site. And if it's not, my video gets blocked. And we've seen it happen. Right. People will put stuff on YouTube videos. They put background music. I can't remember. It was maybe
Rick Beato talks about it all the time. He's like, I can't feature them in this countdown because they're notorious blockers.
Right. I can't remember who she was. She was local here to Florida. She was like some makeup guru on YouTube, had a YouTube channel, and she did makeup tutorials. And she put in background music from a well-known artist on a YouTube video one time and got fucking sued. Like, they didn't block it. They sued her ass because she was, I figured they probably figured because she had millions of followers on YouTube and they thought, well, we can get
there's
somebody to her.
There's money there.
Otherwise,
Right.
you just strike it. Yeah.
Right. But they were like, oh, this is somebody we can go after. And because she didn't do it maliciously, she wasn't trying to hurt the artist. She liked the music and used it. And they went after her. They were like, nope, that's a fucking copyright infringement. You're using our music.
So let me ask you a question here, Grinch. And this is for everybody, right? So if you were to go out to one of these AI sites, put in your information, get something back, would you consider yourself then an artist?
No, I can't claim that. Not where we things stand.
Right.
I wouldn't feel comfortable enough that I had done anything.
Hold on. What if you created something and it sold for $100,000?
Well, I'd take the money, but
but he still
wouldn't call himself an
just as
artist.
himself.
I mean, but I put it in the same realm of I golfed once. Am I now a golfer? You know what I mean? Like,
right.
But
nobody paid you to play golf.
But it'd be the same thing of like, yeah, I dabble. And then if you truly take it up as a hobby and feel like your skill set is such, then I might take on that moniker.
Okay.
Otherwise, I think it's semantics. What
if it's a hobby?
What
So you're not
if
really
the
an
piece
artist.
you created sold for $100,000, and then other people started to imitate that piece?
These are hypotheticals that to me
But don't make any sense
to answer.
Speaking in hypotheticals. So.
If I use the term or not, who fucking cares?
Okay.
It's my point.
I use you as an example because other people obviously will do that, right? They will say,
you're saying I could be the one-hit wonder of art.
Yes,
and you would still be relevant.
there are plenty.
20 years.
Yeah.
Look,
but
maybe a more relevant question is: would someone like me be offended that he's calling himself an artist?
Relevant
to
whom?
Someone who went and studied for years, right? And worked really hard to hone their craft.
I made paper mache mushrooms.
Right, and you typed a couple of words into a text stream and it turned out some work, and then you sold it as your own or whatever. It's like, okay, well, is that offensive? If you're like, well, I don't call myself an artist, would I be offended if you did? No, I wouldn't.
You wouldn't.
Somebody would, absolutely. Yeah, but look, I won't say that there have been a number of occasions where a Vistaprint graphic design pre-made site took work away from me as a freelance graphic designer. It sucked. And when you try to have that conversation with people, they don't get it. They're like, what am I paying you for if this site can do it for $10?
My shit would still be better than Jackson Pollock.
But what's your argument there?
Oh, Clone Sherman, I love me some Pollock. Don't lie. In fact, every Friday night, Cass and I turn the black light in the bedroom. We call it Pollock Friday.
Yeah.
I can tell you.
Pollock After Dark.
I can tell you his artwork is. I mean, you look at it and you go, a fucking child can do it, right? That's what people think. Mm-hmm. As somebody who has tried that shit, it is incredible. And people go, oh, he threw paint against the wall. No, what he did was incredibly deliberate. I know it was tongue in cheek.
It was an easy reference. Yeah.
Right. But that is literally, that's the thought process that people have. And people, I mean, they say it about me. It's like,
well, he's laughing all the way to the bank. So
of course he was. But again, I wouldn't get offended if you called yourself an artist. But yes, I spent the time, the effort to kind of hone what I was doing. Now, maybe I fall into a different thing. I take photographs, but by and large, my work is sculptural, and thankfully, today sculptural work has not fallen into that. Now,
wait till they start hooking up this AI
3D
printer.
3D printer.
Well, and that is the other thing, right? Is you can literally, like 3D printers now with the proper substrate and stuff like that, you can print some amazing shit, of course. But it's just one of those things where I take umbrage with it currently because there aren't things in place to protect artists, music, movies, visual, literary.
There should be.
And if they get there, great. Yes, Mac, you're 100% right. Technology is always going to move faster than we are capable of keeping up with. So you're never going to put in roadblocks to prevent it, to protect those people ahead of the curve. It's always going to be playing catch up, which sucks. And you worry that they'll always find a way to undermine that and move on. It's what they say, like computer hackers. Computer hackers find a way to hack something. We find a way to protect it. They've already found another way to hack. So people will do this. It'll be a way for people to create artwork or whatever. and never be held accountable. And I don't know how you ever get away from that. So, Grinch, if it brings you into the fold and you start creating artwork, brother, kudos. I'll team up with you and we'll create something. You come down, I'll let you use the welder, and you can create some phenomenal 3D work.
I'm working on my first AI art piece right now.
Right now, coincidentally, I'm going to share this with you since we did have this discussion.
That's how much it costs, by the way.
I can't hold on.
Was that $4.99?
$4.99
a week. Now, is that you can turn out 100 pieces a week, or is that?
I don't know, but I just downloaded. I was curious to get to the price wall.
Gotcha.
But yeah, all you do is type in words.
Let me know when you can see my screen.
Yes,
Got
sir.
it.
Okay, so this is iStock by Getty Images, and I literally, if you can read it, I typed in "old man sitting on a park bench with painted American flag," and you see what it returned. Nothing. Sorry, 0 results. This is through their service. So then I just went out to Google and I said the same thing. This is what it returned. Now, nothing even remotely resembling. Now it'll give you an American bench and shit, but yeah.
All right. So how about old man sitting on a park bench, painted American flag in Zion National Park?
Better not.
Again, though, I think the more specific you get, the less you're going to actually find.
I know,
Right.
but that's the whole point, is to drill down.
Right.
And so, yeah, again, we're getting painted benches and things like that, but you're not getting.
But if you have an AI doing this, they can then impose images. So they can pull, okay, I've got an old man on the right sitting on a park bench, and then an American flag park bench. I can superimpose one over the other, and boom, I've got what I need.
So Grinch are you using that?
Sitting on an old man sitting on a
Okay, I was
bench
going to ask him to
with
type that
an
in and see what it returns.
American flag. Done. Choose a style. Novelistic.
Sure.
Create.
How long does it take to create?
It's rendering right now. I don't know if you can see this.
Wow.
Now the bench isn't painted; it's putting a flag in the background.
Yeah, I said novelistic on style.
Yeah. Does it give you like a list of styles that you get to choose from? Is that how it works?
Yeah, so right before this step, you choose like graphic or novelistic or whatever.
Okay.
So yeah, it gave me this one and that one.
So there you go, Haas. You don't even need me.
Yes, I do.
But
more
it-
importantly,
not for this, you
importantly,
don't.
I want you.
but I'll use this as an example. If you look really close at the image, the bench is really weird, right?
Yeah.
It goes through
Yes.
his body.
Yeah.
That seems painful.
And there are some things I guess it just can't resolve.
Or maybe,
Oh,
but maybe
he's
the
got
bench.
3 legs. Look at that.
Yeah.
Yes, he does. Oh.
I mean,
That's an
maybe there's some
oddity.
commentary there, with the bench going through him, and he's grounded with the American flag, and he can't stand up. So now make him, a person of color, and you got some political commentary there,
All right, I'm trying like mythological now.
I saw Max shaking his head. He's like, Dave, not even touching that one.
This coming from the guy that thinks shovels should be,
Well, yeah.
and, indentured servitude.
Yeah, see, like that's got some weird issues.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Hold it up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, what style is that? That's
That was
Graphic?
mythological. I actually
mythological.
liked one of the styles a second ago better. Let's try.
Yeah, for those listening that can't see these, it's interesting.
It
It is interesting. It's not. I mean, look, it's not been fine tuned yet. It'll get there. And like we were talking about earlier, I think once they start creating, buckets for people to choose from, very specific buckets, and the way they're able to drill down to each style or bucket of terms that they use, I mean, look, I'm fascinated by it, but I still think this needs to be properly and legally regulated. Oh wow,
Yeah, that's
Compton.
okay.
Thor,
Was that
that's Thor.
Was that Bernie Sanders?
No,
We're
go
getting
back.
closer?
Go back one.
We're
Yeah,
getting
Thor.
closer.
That was not as far off. Like, obviously, the guy you took the picture of had a cane, and he was like taking his hat off.
It was a
and-
heavy set guy.
Yeah, I mean, it was there was a lot about the photo you took that was very aesthetically pleasing.
Hold on a second.
Because you captured a moment, and I think that's one of the things I have a problem with this is it's not actually capturing any real moment.
Right. I agree with that, and
so it lacks passion, it lacks creativity, ingenuity, and emotion.
I was actually trying to go through and see if I could find the actual image.
Whoa, that is really weird.
I will have to go through and find that image for you, Haas.
Okay, I appreciate
Yeah,
it.
I'd
that
like to
one is
see the
pretty
original.
cool.
Yeah.
But this
again,
one is just fucking weird.
But again, is that something you would, blow up and try to pawn off as your own? Like, do you look at those and goes, yeah, those are good enough that I mean, that's the thing.
What are you talking about? I'm already on Grinch's website buying that.
Sweet.
I got 6 coffee mugs on the way with that image on it.
There you go.
I'm getting it tattooed on my left butt cheek.
Well, that's
Mhm.
why the
Big
left?
Mac rules is on the right.
Right. Okay. I was about to say why the left. Look, at
Because
the end of the day.
because a picture of you eating chicken wings, homie, is on the right one.
Okay. Well, we've gone down
And let me tell you where that chicken wing is sitting, so your mouth is right by yeah.
This has gone down a horrible rabbit hole, and we apologize. Not that we've gotten off topic. I mean,
I like the 3 legs.
Yeah.
Grinch was literally creating AI artwork, specific parameters, just to see what it would turn.
So close to being done.
Hello?
Nope.
Fuck. What did I bump here? What did I hit?
I'm gonna hit the head while you're figuring it out.
Going to the bathroom too.
Yeah, same.
There we go. Okay. I'm
Yeah,
back.
he's
Sorry.
back.
I was trying to move the external flash drive. I was trying to plug in. Sorry.
Gotcha. No worries.
Fuck, I don't even remember what I was saying. Fuck this topic. Why did I want to be an artist? I don't even know. I should have been a fucking developer. Then I could have created AI to create artwork and
See, there you go.
fuck that shit all up. Look,
Train
at the end of the
monkey
day,
with the Google account.
yeah. At the end of the day, I think there is value in computer learning and AI and stuff like that, obviously. And some of the articles I read were like, oh, well, the pretentious types of creatives are worried to just, basically they don't want to not be the center of attention. Well, I was never that type of artist. I was never. Have you guys ever seen the show on Netflix, The Velvet Buzzsaw? Jake Gyllenhaal?
No.
Right. It's on there.
Oh, yeah. I've seen the trailer. Yes.
Okay. If you ever get a chance, go and watch it. It's called The Velvet Buzzsaw with Jake Gyllenhaal. It, aside from the kind of the gore aspect of it, when you watch how artists and art critics are portrayed in the movie, it is almost 100% spot on. There are a lot out there that tend to be very pretentious in their approach. Suddenly it's like you're an artist or an art critic, your vocabulary suddenly, gets elevated to a whole different level. And it's just like, well, just be who you are. You don't got to be a fucking douchebag, right? Just because you're in the art world. But I think with this particular topic, there definitely needs to be some things in place, as we have said, from a position of protecting the artist. And again, can you get away from it? No, I think this is something that's here to stay. It's just, how do you put parameters in place to make sure that it is not running roughshod over the entire creative community? And that's all I want. And based on what you guys have said, I think that's, except for maybe Mac, because I think Mac's just indifferent to the whole thing. He's already on Grinch.
I agree.
But you're going to continue to buy artwork from Grinch, a well-known artist.
Well, absolutely, because he's probably one of the top 5 artists in the world now. In the last 2 minutes.
2 minutes.
I mean, who doesn't like 3-legged men sitting on a bench?
That's it.
Exactly.
Well, that third leg's not a leg. But okay.
That's it.
I was about to say, are we titling all of these? Are we titling all of these? Fat Thor sits on a bench.
Fat Thor on a bench. At the end of the day, gentlemen, I appreciate
I shared my first work.
Okay, and we'll see if you elevate it from there, or
it's pretty dope.
Is it though?
That is pretty cool.
All right. So what is this? What did you type in?
Existential crisis window.
Well, guess what? That's going to be tattooed.
It is kind of a
That's-
cool idea.
I mean, that's going to be a little square block on my arm, on my forearm, on the inside of my forearm. Done and done.
Well, but you have to pay.
I bet
French
the freaking
for it.
tattoo artist will hate me though. Look at all those fine lines. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe not. Woof.
It is what it is. Gentlemen, I appreciate it. Obviously, week in and week out, you guys showing up and doing this with me and having these conversations and these debates. This one was relevant to me as an artist. And, I'm curious, and this is something I'll be following because it's relevant to my entire household in terms of our approach to art and being creative types in general. For all of you out there, if you'd like to see some of our artwork, go out to aspiritoddebate.com. You can check it out there. I'm going to start posting Grinch's artwork. I'm sorry, this is called what?
$4.99 a print.
Existential crisis window. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and put this on our website. And if you'd like to purchase it, no royalties will be paid to him. And let's see how he feels about that.
All proceeds go to the podcast.
Yeah, there will be no watermark, nothing. You can just steal it, rip it at your leisure and use it anywhere you like. That's it. Hit up spiritoddebate.com. You can check out our vault, all of our episodes there, all of the drinks that we try, and Grinch's artwork. If that's not good enough for you, hit us up at the 4 horsemen at aspiritoddebate.com. You can drop us an email, a drink you'd like us to try, a topic you'd like us to debate. Maybe you'd like to send us some artwork and get our feedback that you had created by AI. We'll do that for you. I am a wealth of criticism when it comes to artwork. If you want to do that, we will sit and critique. I did it for years. I fucking hated it when you're sitting there with a bunch of people critiquing your work. But I'm willing to do that. But gentlemen, thank you as always. I do appreciate it. Love you guys. Miss you not being local, Haas, but I'm glad you're home. And we will do this again. We will do this again next week. So thank you very much.
The views, information, or opinions expressed during the A Spirited Debate podcast series or any affiliated podcast are solely those of the hosts or guests involved and do not represent those of people, institutions, or organizations that the hosts or guests may or may not be associated with in a professional or personal capacity, unless explicitly stated. While guests are invited to listen, listeners acknowledge that they are not being provided professional advice from the podcast or its guests. The content within the parameters of A Spirited Debate podcast series or any affiliated podcast are for entertainment and educational purposes only. Any views or opinions are not intended to malign any religion, ethnic group, club, organization, company, or individual.